Hello everyone. Let's talk about CAP theorem. CAP theorem, it is a very important theorem in system design, and you need to be able to justify what specific things are you choosing. CAP stands for consistency, availability, and partition tolerance. Okay, and it is important in case of distributed systems, and it is one of the core features of distributed systems. Okay, so we'll get an idea of it. So for a distributed system, you can pick two among these three. Okay, so you cannot pick all the three for distributed system, and it is true for every distributed system. Okay, and so you have to choose like what thing is important. So consistency is needed when you want all nodes to have the same data, just like in a banking system. Like if you have made a transaction, so you need to show balance correctly, so that needs to be consistent. For availability, every request receives a response without an error. So even in case of any failure or things like that, you need to show any available data. Okay, and partition tolerance means like even if there is communication failure or any network issue, that time as well the system should be able to show the data. So talking about the impossible triangle. So as I talked about, like we could either have a CA system, CP system, or an AP system. So let's talk about CA system. Okay. So CA means consistency and availability. So the traditional database, like the monolith system and the other systems, they lack partition tolerance because that is a whole single system. So there is no need for partition tolerance, and those were CA systems. But those systems are now outdated, and now every system is either a CP system or an AP system. Okay. So now, if we talk about distributed systems, partition tolerance is something that is needed for sure. Okay, we cannot trade off for partition tolerance. Okay, that is needed. So the system could either be a CP system or an AP system. So CP system is simple, like a system which requires strong consistency, like banking system where data is absolute important. And AP system is like social media. So suppose we need to have store the likes count, the comments. Okay, so for those, availability is more important. Like we don't have to update the likes consistently, right? So moving on. So the CA system, that is the old systems. Okay, so it has benefits like it has strong consistency, availability, it has simple architecture. But during the partition or network failure, the system completely fails. It has limited scalability. It cannot be scaled for large number of users if the website grows. And it has single point of failure. So current modern distributed system kind of avoids all these things. Okay, so currently CA systems are outdated. And talking about AP systems, so availability and partition tolerance. So availability means the data is available despite any network failure across all regions. Okay, so it replicates data across multiple nodes so that we have a data, and we can have eventual consistency as well, like not fully consistent but eventually consistent. Okay, and so we have certain like DNS, Cassandra, they prioritize availability, and even if the data becomes stale, it is still able to serve the data. Okay, talking about CP systems, so it means always accurate. Data accuracy is at most important. Okay, and if the data is not available, the user might need to wait because it will show only the accurate data, and it provides strong guarantee. Okay, so MongoDB banking system, so they prefer consistency, right? So the user might need to wait. So we need to design the system so that the user doesn't need to wait for long. And if we talk about real world use case, so Twitter use availability and partition tolerance. Like it will show tweets even if like counts are outdated, and it makes sense, right? Banking. So as I was talking through continuously throughout my video, like transaction accuracy matters a lot. Okay, and e-commerce, like we can, so in a single system we can have both AP and CP. So for some systems, for some components we can have AP. For some components we can have CP. So browser is AP, checkout process leans toward CP, right? So you have to think about like what your system gives, what your system requires, and based on that you need to make that decision. But right now we have distributed systems, so you just need to make among these two choices, either availability or consistency, and you need to be able to justify why are you choosing this over this. Okay, and as a design framework, so you must be able to make a well trade-off as to why you are selecting a particular. So some database also are available, some database prefers consistency over availability. You need to think about, like, do you need ACID versus base? Okay, you need to think about application as well, whether it's a web application, whether it's a high security application, things like that. Okay, so once you get a hold of that, you will be able to do it well. But on a high level, this is all about CAP theorem. Go through all these concepts in depth. Okay, and I'll see you in the next video.